welcome back to the Retail Media Breakfast Club. This is part 2 of my conversation with Scott Wingo, where we're breaking down the ripple effects of AI and agentic shopping on the retail media ecosystem. I shared in part 1 of this discussion how in a future scenario where an AI agent is transacting on behalf of a customer, that the value prop of a retailer's ad business is under threat. And that's true whether we're talking about on-site sponsored product ads or off-site display ads. In this episode, part 2 of that conversation, we explore the real-world consequences of that situation. Are retailers going to lose their data edge and their retail media cash cow? Where will brands want to be spending their ad dollars when AI becomes the surface, not the retailer.com? And much more. This discussion first aired on the Retail Agentic podcast with Scott Wingo, which is another great podcast I think you'll like. I'll link up to it in the show notes. Now let's jump back into the conversation.
Sam Altman has said pretty publicly he doesn't want to do ads.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg said the same thing. And Sam Altman just went and hired Fidji Simo from Instacart, who built a very successful ads business over there to lead applications. So I'm sorry, I don't buy it for a second. There won't be ads in ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think they have a lot of flexibility of making revenue to cover that, sure.
It's such a no-brainer for them to do it. So then what's left from those 3 buckets of income that I mentioned to you? You've still got the physical environment. You can still do end caps. You can still do, this is not my world, so I don't know all the terms, but all this trade budget that's currently at risk from the hot new thing, which is retail media. Ironically, I think that's actually very safe because people still will go to stores, and some people, if they disagree with me, they're like, oh, but you think you're going to allow an agent to buy everything for you? And it's like, well, no, it will still be one of several modalities that we use to go buy things. Mm-hmm. There'll still be stores. So that's sort of how I see things shifting. And then what retailers do with that and what brands do with that evolution is something else that we can talk about. I have some ideas, but I'll just stop there and see if you have any holes to poke in my outlook there.
No, I think it's right. Let's say, and it's easy, it's a good thought experiment to kind of paint these things as black and white. It's kind of like you see the edge cases and you can kind of see what's going on. But, you've been at this for 10 years. I've been at it probably like 30. And, I'm always surprised e-commerce is only like, depending on which number you look at, 16 to 20% of overall sales. So I do think, to your point, I think this is just going to be another modality of how people are shopping. I saw PayPal CEO said 25% of e-commerce will be agentic by 2030. That feels right, but it's 25% of 20%, which is 4% of commerce. So it'll probably be a percentage, and that itself isn't material for commerce, but 25% is, right? Material being defined anything over 10%. But what happens if 25% of the traffic goes away? You know this world better than I do. Certainly, so Amazon would feel it, right? Because that's a $60 million line item for them. That's, I think, pure margin. So that would go down by 25% naturally. But then who else? Do you think that's cataclysmic for your world? Or people would be like, oh, it just makes inventory more valuable and people will pay more for it. Like, is there a counterbalance to that?
Yeah, it's a really great point about it being a percentage of a percentage. And ironically, I think you're right that the retailers that have the biggest exposure to e-commerce will have the biggest hit. I mean, there's not so many, I shop online a lot regardless of the category, but for a grocery retailer like a Albertsons or an H-E-B or someone like that, people aren't doing that. They're not so much going to the website and checking out or using the app unless they're a chronically online shopper. So really the on-site environment for them is probably less of a revenue stream than the off-site in terms of volume that they're bringing in with their network. So yeah, I think you're right. The ones that are more exposed to e-commerce probably stand to lose the most. When your time, budget, and team are already maxed out, keeping up with retailer platforms and media requirements can feel like a never-ending labyrinth. That's why even the best brands bring in an execution partner. Acosta Group makes retail media execution simpler. They stay ahead of every platform update, tech shift, and media spec, so your campaigns actually show up and perform without draining your team. Let Acosta Group handle the chaos behind the scenes so you can keep building the brand. Check out acosta.group and tell them Retail Media Breakfast Club sent you. That's ACOSTA.group.
I think, and this just occurred to me, but I think another big loser in this could be Instacart because, that's where having an agent is super helpful because it's such a drag to press all the buttons to get like the avocado added to your cart in an Instacart. So I wonder, and then if it's like an agent kind of pressing those buttons, then the ad efficacy could go way down because that's a huge part of Instacart's revenue, right? Is ads. Last I looked, it was almost all the margin and a pretty material part of revenue. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. And a lot of people have been leaving Instacart. I don't know if you followed this or not, but so you mentioned Fiji left.
Oh,
The
right.
chief product officer just went to Walmart. Perplexity hired previous chief product officer, and I
Wow.
think there's like 3 or 4 people underneath those folks that have left. So I wonder if there's a little bit of writing on the wall at Instacart that maybe this agentic thing is somewhat risky for them.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think that there is still a lot for retailers to do here as well. I actually think that there's a very significant opportunity for loyalty programs. If you think about what kind of preferences am I going to feed to my AI a sidekick, it's dietary preferences, budget preferences, but it's also if a retailer has a really strong loyalty program, that's potentially going to factor into my criteria as well. So I might say, like a grocery shopping, build a basket scenario. I'm making these 5 meals this week, build a basket and tell me which retailer is going to be cheaper for all these things that I need on my list. I might come back with retailer A is cheaper than retailer B, but I just remembered I have my loyalty tier with retailer B, and even though they're a little bit more expensive, let's go with them because I really want to get this perk that they offer when I get to the next tier, or they always give me samples in my order, or whatever it is for a retailer.
Gas point for me, it's gas points.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
get our Harris Teeter gas discount.
Harris Teeter, you listening? The Kroger group, yeah.
Yeah, Kroger Bartum.
Yeah, so that is, I think that's a really big opportunity that could come back. And then other differentiators, and these are not new concepts, but you can differentiate on fulfillment speed, you can differentiate on ease of returns, you can differentiate like a Sprouts farmers market or something like that on unique selection and having more homegrown brands or whatever it is. So there's still many things that retailers can do. And then we get into this topic of gating the agents. And this is where I find it super interesting, this philosophical divide between Walmart, who is, by comparison to Amazon, like flinging the doors open and saying, welcome, welcome, we welcome our robot overlords. Like at some point in the future, they actually want Sparky to integrate with external agents, whereas Amazon's building that closed ecosystem. Like Alexa, you need to use Alexa Plus for everything. So that'll be super interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, if you're number one, you want to protect your position. You're king of the hill, so you build a wall. And if you're number two and you've been trying to catch number one for 30 years and frustratingly you've never gotten close, this is your opportunity to lean in and finally catch up to them. So it is interesting it's going to be very fascinating the next 3 or 4 years to see which of those decisions, right?
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with me and Scott Wingo from the Retail Agentic podcast. Just a reminder, you can go check out that full episode on retailagentic.com and I'll link up to it in the show notes. Thanks for listening and I'll catch you tomorrow.